Why Kookaburra Laughs at Dawn. Sometime when the world was young, birds and animals had grown to an enormous size. They were as big as mountains, and they lived in darkness that was lit only by the dim light of the stars. The animals were quarrelsome, for it was difficult to find food enough to support their enormous bodies. Bayami had begun his acts of creation, but he hadn't yet determined what form his people would take, and these animals he'd made were his first experiments. The world was not a comfortable place in which gods could live. Bayami preferred to remain in his home in the Milky Way, which he shared with another powerful spirit, whose name was Punjil. In the frosty realms of the sky, it was cold, and every day the gods collected firewood, which they piled in a heap in front of their celestial wurley. "Why do we gather all this wood, but never set it alight?" Punjil asked plaintively. "We have no fire. Fire is found only in the world below." "Then why don't we go down and get some for ourselves? I'm cold." "Well, you must remain cold for a little while longer," Bayami told him. "The time will come. You can't hasten the processes of creation." Punjil was prepared to argue, but his attention was attracted by an unusual sight. Both he and Bayami were able to see clearly in the half-light that enveloped the world. They saw that Eagle and Emu were fighting over the carcass of some animal. Emu managed to snatch it away from Eagle. He rushed towards his nest with the other bird, hot in pursuit. Eagle's beak was stretched out, and he was pulling the tail feathers from the fleeing bird. Emu didn't dare to stay by the nest. He ran straight on into the dense undergrowth and was lost to sight, while Eagle stopped and began to walk back towards the emu nest. He looked in and saw 2 white eggs glimmering in the darkness. He picked one of them out with his beak, transferred it to his claw, and with a wicked smile on his face, threw it up in the air with all his might. Punjil had been watching closely. The egg soared upwards, higher and higher, and as it came closer to him it seemed to grow so large that it blotted out his view of the world. Instinctively, Punjil put out his hand to catch it, but it slipped through his fingers and smashed against the woodpile outside the wurley. It broke into 1,000 pieces, and the timber was splashed with white and gold. As the 2 great spirits watched, the shattered egg burst into flames. The wood was kindled, and as it had been stored for so long and was tinder dry, it burned furiously. The gods drew near to warm their bodies. Presently they looked down. The stars had paled before the intense glow of the fire, and the whole world was lit up by flames. They drew their breath quickly at such a sight. Never before had they seen such beauty. Mountain tops were touched with pure gold. Trees were like a feathery green garment on the hillside. Silver streams and waterfalls adorned a land that shone in splendour. And even the arid plains were glowing with 1,000 bright colours, while the clouds that drifted over the earth's face were gossamer veiled that enhanced her loveliness. "This is your doing, Bayami," said Punjil. "Under cover of darkness you've been making the world beautiful so that we may enjoy it forever." Bayami smiled. "Not for us alone, Punjil. The huge animals of the darkness have had their day, and now it's time to people this world of mine with little animals, small birds and reptiles, even tiny insects that we can scarcely see, and put silvery fish into the rivers and lakes." And as he was speaking, the fire began to die down, and some of the beauty was concealed again. "What is the use of making such a world if no one's able to see it?" Punjil asked. "Well, now we have the gift of fire in the heavens," Bayami replied. "We'll never let it go out. At night it'll die down till no one can see it, but in the morning I'll light it again. Men will call it the sun, but we know that there's a new woodpile burning brightly to waken all living things from sleep." "What is sleep?" asked Punjil. "Sleep is a gentle spirit that closes men's eyes and soothes the thoughts out of their heads. It's a time of resting. Living things need sleep." "Do you mean that they're dead?" No. It's hard to tell you because you don't know it, but sleep is a not living that keeps men alive." Punjil shook his head in a puzzled fashion. "I don't understand, Bayami," he said. "If you say it's good, it must be good. But if men are living yet not living, and their eyes are closed, they won't know when the fire is lit. They'll go on and on in this thing that you call sleep, which is like death." "They'll open their eyes to the fire each day," Bayami assured him. "I shall hang a bright star in the east, and by that they'll know that the fire is to be lit again, and that light is coming back into the world." Well, how can they know when a star is there if their eyes are shut? There'll be a noise that will wake them when the star shines. What kind of noise? Who will make it? Well, that's for you to find out, Punjel, since you're so concerned lest my little ones shouldn't wake up each day. You must try and find a way of letting them know. Punjel went back to his wurley and tried to think. I could carry stones up to the Milky Way and drop them on the earth, but then they might hurt Bayami's people when they fall. And anyway, that wouldn't be a happy sound to wake everyone. They might be afraid. After thinking for a long time, Punjel went down to earth and wandered through the bush. He listened to the branches of trees creaking together in the wind, to water trickling over stones, to the thudding of paws of the animals on the ground, but none of these things satisfied him. And then he heard a sound of laughter, and he went to see what it was. And he found Kookaburra perched on the branch of a tree, laughing happily to himself. "Kookaburra," he cried, "that is just the sound I want. Can you laugh louder than that?" Kookaburra opened his beak wide and let out such a peal of laughter that Punjel had to block his ears to stop being deafened. "Wonderful," he cried again. "Everyone will be able to hear that noise in the furthest corners of the world. Kookaburra, before the sky fire is lit each morning, Bayami will hang a star in the eastern sky. Will you watch for it and laugh your happy laugh when you see it?" "Of course I will," said Kookaburra. "I am happiest when I am laughing." Punjel flew up to the sky and told Bayami what he had done. "Good," said the Great Spirit. "When I put the morning star in the east, listen and tell me whether you can hear Kookaburra giving the dawn call." But there was no need for him to ask Punjel to listen. He could hear it himself, just like everyone else, except those who were stone deaf.